Café Anyway. What? It's episode...
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 2714. 2714 divisible by 3?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Well, by 7? By 2? By 3? I don't know. It's Mike, who's not a mathematician, but my last name has math in the name. Mike Matthews. I should have been a clinician, because then I could help people with their funny bone, and I could make them laugh, pretty much, or moan. But this is the end of the song for the
Mike's Daily Podcast.
episode 2007-14. Now, I have told you that
Mike's
here
Daily
in the waning days
Podcast
of November, I've been pretty busy. Well, of course, it's always great if you can get together with other people this time of year. I've spent this time of year alone. It's not fun. It's not good. It's not good for you. But if you get invited to things, and if you're one of those cool people that invite people over, thank you, you're the best. I have had this past week 2 times where the host was utterly magnificent. Absolutely. I love hosts that are cool. Hosts that have the mosts. On Thanksgiving, we spent time with some friends that I've known a long time, that I met through the late great Basil the Boxer. I was walking my dog, and a guy by the name, whose last name is Welsh, you sometimes hear the Welsh on the World thing, he was walking his dog, Bailey, who I was talking about on, I think, the last podcast, about how Bailey is almost 18 years old, and she is hanging in there, and she's a tough dog. She's deaf, but she can hear, she can see, hear with her eyeballs. She gets around really well. So Basil introduced me to Robert. Basil also introduced me to my lovely lady friend, so I owe him a lot.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And through Robert, the podcast picture will be probably from the Armstrong Forest that I was at a week ago. So beautiful. I found out later that they filmed the Return of the Jedi there with the Ewoks and the flying through the forest on those floating hovercraft thingies. Hey, Doctor Who, they're celebrating, the anniversary, 60-year anniversary was on Thanksgiving? Yes, the late great Basil the Boxer. He tolerated me watching Doctor Who. But because of him, I met all these wonderful people that I still cherish today. So the people we hung out with on Thanksgiving were the family of Robert, who I met through Basil, and we had a great time. Robert's dad, Tom, is hilarious because he does the thing that I would do as a host if I actually hosted people. And I'm actually trying to start cleaning. I'm trying to start to clean my place. Here at Café Anyway, it's always immaculate. I don't know who cleans this place. Maybe it's magic little cupids that fly around, or bats with the Swiffers tied to them. That's what cleans this place. Or maybe it's Rocky the cat comes through with a Swiffer. I don't know. Or we just throw him around and his fur picks up all the dust. Because that's what cats do, right? They pick up the dust when they slide around the floor. Huh? What? No, it's amazing. Rocky the cat will chase after anything that if you send like a pen across the floor, he goes chasing after it. He loves it. So that's why Café Anyway is clean, because of cats. So when I was Thanksgiving, Tom does what I would probably do as a host, and that is direct people. And Tom is an excellent director. He was a coach, I think, for a high school or elementary school for many, many years. And he still is involved with athletics and the kids' teams in the Bay Area. But he did this.
Welsh on the world.
Okay. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your plate over here. You're not going to walk this way. You're going to walk around the table this way. and get your gravy. Then you're going to get your turkey. And you got to go walk around this way, though. No, you're going the wrong way. Got to walk this way. Get your mashed potatoes, your stuffing. Don't forget, though, there's cranberry sauce on the table. It's not here. Don't take it from the table and put it here. It's on the table. Okay, he was directing. Some would say micromanaging. As a manager, I try not to do that. As a manager, it is very difficult not to do that. But then here's what happens is if you do it a lot, you get tired of doing it. Micromanaging is very taxing. It's upsetting to everybody. Sometimes it has to be done with certain employees.
This is Mike's Podcast Picnic.
Like, dude, you've made the same mistake 20 times. I pointed it out to you 20 times. You got to be on it. Are you on it? Are you doing it? Da-da-da-da-da. And at some point, then you have to let them loose to enjoy the world. But hopefully people work on the mistakes they make. I tried to at least. And fix it to prevent these things ahead of time. But on the occasion when you have to micromanage, yes, it is sometimes necessary, but it is exhausting. So we had a great time with Tom and Robert and Bailey and the family. And we played this wonderful game. I think it was called Clean Slate, where you say a word like so blank. And then you have to put the blank. And people, if they write, like, let's say, what springs to your mind when I say so blank, so good, possibly. I said so Raven, and nobody got it. But if somebody else has the same one you do, you both get a point. Everybody gets a point. But, you know, the trick is to do something that is well known by at least one other person, but not by the whole team. It works better if you've got like 5 people playing this game. And then, speaking of games, last night we were invited to a game night at a house, only adults, no kids allowed. And it was this big house, a big, beautiful house in Podcastro Valley as we go outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth.
Anyway.
And this game, which had no prizes, just the glory of winning, we played scavenger hunt, where people ran around trying to find there'd be a little piece of paper that would say something very obscure in poetry form. And then you would run over to the next clue because you would go, oh, what does that sound like? Okay. And we ran around and that was fun. And this is what it involved. It involved the people that own the house to allow some 30 plus people to run around their house and go through. They have, I think, 5 kids go through, or 6. I think it was 6. We were allowed to go through all of their rooms. Yeah, that could cause all kinds of problems, I know. But somehow they cleared it with the kids ahead of time. The kids weren't there.
Fabagoo, things to do. Magnification.
And then we played these, it was a charades. It was basically charades where somebody sits in a chair and the team stands in front of them.
There's a real scary holiday coming up.
The clue is given to the rest of the people not sitting in the chair. So the person in the chair now has to guess what the word is by seeing what the team members are doing. And of course, it could be something like, the first one we got was Chihuahua. How do you act out Chihuahua? Oh, you can't make any noises. Because first thing you would want to do as a Chihuahua, if you're trying to imitate a Chihuahua, is do the bark. Or say, yo quiero Taco Bell. Or something like that. But that was impossible to get the guesser to figure out. But here's one thing to remember. If you are the guesser, is just throw out words. Just keep saying the words, and you have to observe everybody that's doing it. So if you've got 4 people, you may see 4 different interpretations, but you have to somehow pull from what they're all doing to make whatever the word is, to figure it out. It's a fascinating game. So we played that. That was a lot of fun. And it gets people really active and moving around. And good amount of exercise and activity after Thanksgiving. That's what we all need to do. So now we just had the Black Friday, and we just People are still spending on stuff for the holidays. Retailers have been concerned that demand will be tepid over the holidays and have issued a string of muted forecasts.
MTV News. You hear it first.
Consumers are still preferring to spend on experiences instead of goods, movies,
Woo!
Going on a zip line somewhere, going to an amusement park, that kind of thing, which is fascinating because just a few years ago, we couldn't go outside. And now we can. Now that we can, we're doing things like playing charades or scavenger hunt in somebody's house. Nobody's wearing a mask, by the way. Best Buy cut forecasts as sales fall short. They say consumer demand is uneven at Best Buy. Remember, we used to go to Best Buy and buy DVDs. Oh, wait, they don't sell those anymore, or CDs. Best Buy said its discounts this holiday season are going to be bigger than last year's to stimulate demand. Shares of American Eagle, the fashion outlet, plummeted 17%.
People get stuck on stupid. You know what I mean?
Unimpressive holiday forecasts. People not buying clothes as much? No, I think they are online, but I don't think they're walking into a brick and mortar place. Abercrombie and Fitch followed with muted commentary about the holiday season and next year. Lowe's, though,
Mike is on it, man.
Go where no man has gone before.
We love it, Mike.
Buy that fence that you want to put out in the front yard to keep people off your lawn. Stay off my lawn. Lowe's sales has disappointed as consumers are pulling back. Slow home sales, by the way, and high interest rates are hurting sales of home improvement products. Guess what? That's a big thing. Existing home sales tanked last month to a 13-year low.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
Previously owned homes were about 4% lower in the month of October compared with September. Not the biggest dip, but a dip nonetheless. It was the slowest sales pace since August of 2010. Now, I bought my house in, it wasn't August. It was more like November of 2009, so just about a year earlier. But I do remember that time, 2010, hearing about how houses weren't selling and prices were dropping. I bought my house almost too soon because prices got even lower. If I would have been able to hang out for a year, hold on for a year. But we couldn't because I was married and we were living with my grandma-in-law.
This show is clean.
A sweet, wonderful woman who's no longer with us, but
Pretty much.
it would have been a little bit cramped staying with her for a whole year.
I got through that. I got into it.
Even though she was wonderful. But we wanted to get started, move out, and it is just impossible to buy a house now in California. There are so many Texans that are moving back to California, something that used to be Californians or just Texans that are Texans to begin with that want to move to California. Despite what everybody says, the big exodus, and still more Californians are moving to Texas than the other way around. But something like 40,000 Texans moved to California last year, 2022. And that's fascinating. People bash California constantly. It is the thing to do in America, if you're outside of California, to bash California. A lot of other states are also moving to California, Oregon and Washington most notably.
Addenda with Kevin.
You got to have something that's going to pay well, because otherwise, how are you going to afford that home with these interest rates, or afford the rent? Actually, the rent has come down a bit, so maybe that's what's luring some people out of Texas into California. But since last year, the amount of homes being sold dropped almost 15%. The average mortgage rate rose sharply, so that might have something to do with it, jumping over 8% by mid-October, which we hadn't seen that rate in many years. Rates have since retreated a little bit. Problems include persistent lack of housing inventory and the highest mortgage rates in a generation. Multiple offers are still occurring on starter and mid-priced homes. People finding in California that they can't live in the city. They got to live way outside of the city, maybe at least an hour drive from the city, which, hey, that might be why cities inside the city, it's getting so crazy and bad, and the graffiti's awful, and the unhoused problem is so awful. It's just falling apart because people are spending their money when they go home. They're spending their money at home and not in the city. That might be one thing. But price concessions are happening in the upper end of the market. At the current sales pace, that represents a 3.6 month supply. That's how many houses we have. That's a 6-month supply is considered a balanced market between the buyer and seller. The amount of houses available, the amount of people wanting to buy the houses. The median price of an existing home sold was $391,000, an increase of 3.4% from a year ago when it was $378,000.
Kathy's Corner.
Kathy's Corner.
And that is not the price that we're seeing in the Bay Area. It is at least $700,000.
Magnification.
And I meant, of course, did I say 391,000? 391,800 to be precise. So that is all I pulled from Rob Black, his latest podcast you can find online. I produce his podcast. And you can also hear him on the radio on AM 1220 KDOW in the mornings, and also on the television station. He is on Kron TV giving out fantastic money-related information that can help us all to know this kind of stuff. Millennials say they need, by the way, at least $525,000 a year to be happy. And that might be because they're trying to buy a house. So the $3.5 billion battery plant that Ford was planning to build has been scaled back. EV demand has been disappointing and labor costs are rising, so they are scaling back. And companies including Apple, Disney, and Comcast have halted ads on X after Elon Musk supported a post saying that Jews were stoking hatred against white people.
The Royal Trump Tweet Decree.
In fact, there was a story today about how
When you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants.
his entire social media company, X, could lose as much as $75 million in advertising revenue by the end of the year, as dozens of major brands are pausing their marketing campaigns because of that comment, or because of that supporting a post. X has struck back and sued media watchdog group Media Matters, alleging the organization defamed the platform with a report that said ads for major brands, including Apple and Oracle, had appeared next to posts touting Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. Internal documents viewed by the New York Times list more than 200 ad units of companies from the likes of Airbnb, Amazon, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, and many of which have halted, considering they're pausing their ads on social network. This according to Reuters. And one other interesting thing that I saw here is Zoom is lifting its 2024 outlook. How often have you used Zoom this year? Of course, probably not as much as in previous years, or maybe you're using it more. I'm finding that since Zoom has become more, everybody seems to be more proficient at Zoom, and people are learning it. It just seems like everybody's got a basic knowledge of it, that more people are using it. But they have lifted their 2024 outlook, fueled partly by strong customer loyalty and expanding usage of tools. People are using the tools and paying money for it. It was $458 the stock during the pandemic. Now it is at $64.
Cassette copy.
Amazon is reporting that former CEO Jeff Bezos may be selling $8 to $10 million of shares after offloading $1.67 million worth of shares last week. This was actually in the middle of March, middle March. I'm thinking of literature now, everybody.
Bands mutations.
But it was in the middle of November that he did that. So, but he may be selling $8 to $10 million more in shares. Maybe he has done so by the time you hear this. So that's all the fascinating stuff I have for you today. And look who's outside a Café Anyway. Hello, Michael Masters, Madame Rootabega. All of that is very fascinating. Oh, did you date Jeff Bezos? Yes. Did you go and play charades last night? Yes. Did you win? No. Yeah, neither did I. Partly because we got that Chihuahua. How do you even... Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know it?
Mike, it's sure getting cold these days, day.
Yeah, cold. Do you know it? I wanted to thank you guys for putting up the outdoor heaters. That's really helping us out here. Outdoor heaters are the best thing ever. And they really, man, it's a whole new world. I like being outside, so that helps me. But more so, it helps my lovely lady friend who gets cold fast. Me, I'm a big guy, and I could stand outside in my shorts when it's practically 30 degrees outside. But
holding court with Lady Katie. Lady Katie.
But if you would like to chime in about anything else that we covered today, if you'd like to be a wind chime, if you'd like to be a dream catcher, if you would like to be a flower, whatever you want to be, give me a call. Here's the number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with more ways to reach me, it is A-Frame. Be safe this holiday weekend and throughout the holidays.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.